Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, doing a video, just expressing my disappointment in the mainstream left, and that includes Bernie Sanders. Um, I'm really sad that a lot of the people that I looked up to only about a year ago have turned out to be just such wankers. That includes Bernie Sanders, AOC. I don't think I've looked up to AOC, but and it just kind of goes to show that you put your faith in someone, especially a politician, they're always going to disappoint you. I mean, at this point, I believe that I've said this before, and this is a little controversial, but I think Bernie Sanders is kind of cucked himself to Joe Biden so much. He says he's going to do what he says for him to do, all these statements. It's just awful. So I'm really sad and disappointed at this point. And I don't like the Republicans, and I never did, but at the same time, sometimes they seem to be saying more of the rational things nowadays, as I've thought before. Once in a while, I'm not saying a lot. I'm just saying once in a while, especially calling for some moderation with regards to the uh, pandemic, for example. Even if some of them are kind of crazy and might be denying it or whatever, there's also people that are more in the middle about it. And the so-called left has kind of fallen into this trap of not questioning anything. It was funny because I was watching some footage from the 9/11 Commission earlier today, and most of the people that were questioning Bush and these people were Democrats, at least at the time. And when I call the virus crisis the 9/11 of the left, I really mean that. And I don't mean it actually permeates, I do mean actually mostly everybody on the left seems to be in lockstep. I mean, even the most stringent, anti-establishment left-winger they're falling in line with all this stuff. Not all of them, but most of them. And it's not a matter of falling in line or not. It's more, do you have any question? Do you question things? Do you question narratives? Do you question why things are going the way they are? I think Jimmy Dore is the only one that's actually on the left that I've seen cause as much of a ruckus as he has, even though he's more, he's a believer in the severity, but what he says makes sense about these people making money and, about the lockdowns, and there's no support in the United States for people that are suffering under this. And more of his videos, actually, he's been talking about how people want to make money off of the pharma stuff. But of course, he's not going to go as far as saying, he's into, what's that woman's name? Judy Mitkovitz or whatever, which, a lot of that is unfortunately misinformation, disinformation, like the doctor's video from the summer, in front of the Capitol or the White House or whatever. Some of that stuff is definitely not correct. Like that woman that believed in demons possessing people and her curing it or whatever. I forgot all this stuff, but those types of things always come up. It's as a straw man to shoot down anybody that believes in a conspiracy narrative or has unanswered questions. So, but I was watching a bunch of this 9/11 stuff today, and it was really fascinating because basically the formation of the commission was because of the 9/11 Commission was because of people questioning things and kind of going towards that conspiracy way. You have the 9/11 Press for Truth documentary that came out, and it had the wives of some of the people that died in the towers and stuff, and they questioned the official narrative. They wanted to know what the United States government knew or partook in. And one of the the most galling things about that was when they talked about Henry Kissinger and how he was questioned about his ties to Saudi, or if he had any like conflict of interest, and I guess he squirmed on the couch that they were on because he was going to be the head of the 9/11 Commission. So, and I just wonder what happened, because the left, quote unquote, used to be people that wanted to be inquisitive about things and actually question things. Now, a lot of this stuff has been poisoned, unfortunately, with people like Alex Jones and QAnon, and all these people. Because if that hadn't happened, people that want to question things like, well, why did Fauci change his mind 5 times? Why can't he like be a little less arrogant about what he's saying, or why can't he be straightforward with his answers and not lie, or admit that he lied about something to get the public to believe something? Like, why is he lying? Or why deaths are counted, probable deaths are counted in with the official death tolls, or why people even with supposedly with a low PCR threshold result, if they die from something unrelated, in some areas, it's been reported that they still get counted as a virus death. What is wrong with questioning those things? Is that something? Am I insensitive? Am I a Trump-tard? Am I someone? Do I want grandma to die because I question that? It kind of goes back to 9/11, because I question 9/11, and people. I've mentioned this before in videos, but me and my friend were in school together. The former drummer of my old band, one of my old bands, and we would talk about this stuff. And this girl in class once remarked, "Oh, so you like the terror?" She's like, "But they attacked us," because we were questioning going to Iraq. And it's just like, man, talk about brainwashed. But now seemingly it's the left that's brainwashed, unfortunately. Not all of them. Jacobin had that article from the summer, and there's a few outliers here and there. And I know people like Glenn Greenwald are at least questioning the censorship of people, even if they don't agree, like with people like Alex Berenson. I think Glenn Greenwald and I think it was Glenn Greenwald that went to bat for him to keep him on Twitter. So, like, it's these high-profile people. But who knows when Glenn Greenwald will be kicked off of Twitter, too. That'll probably happen eventually. So, yeah. I don't know what happened to the questioning nature of some of those on the left with regards to this crisis. And it doesn't mean you can't believe in the severity or anything like that. But, you have an unprecedented transfer of wealth that has happened, in America because of this crisis. Doesn't that call things into question immediately? Doesn't that put up red flags? It's sad debating people online about this, because it's like they'll think that I'm in line with some billionaire agenda, or some libertarian nut job or something, that one of those that stormed the Capitol, doesn't want to wear a mask ever, and all this stuff. So they just lump people in because that's what they want. The people in power want people to be divided. That's a fact. Excuse me, I'm not sick. I ate some spicy food again. So they do want people to be divided, and that's what's happening. That's why they want people to say, "Oh, these Capitol protesters, they're all nut jobs. They're all billionaires." I'm sure there were a few CEOs there apparently, but they're all nut job Trump supporters. They're crazy. I don't know what they're complaining about, or Black Lives Matter. Racism doesn't exist anymore. They're all just a bunch of commie nut jobs. They want us divided, and that's the fact. So, have a conversation with other people. Try to talk to people, even if some people won't leave their house, so it's probably hard to have a conversation with those people. But people that are, some people are. But yeah, we need to have conversation, or in person too. And if you're not going to be in person, then, but, have a conversation, on Zoom or whatever the fuck. But nobody wants to talk anymore. Nobody wants to work things out. Nobody wants to listen to each other. And I mean, truly listen. This fall, I had a falling out with a friend, and I told him that he didn't listen to me. And there's a difference between listening and listening. You know what I mean? So, like, I have a friend that I hang out with, and he listens to me, and we're part of this group of people. Those other people that are part of this group of people do not. But this particular person listens to me. He actually tries to acknowledge where I'm coming from, tries to listen to what I'm saying, tries to figure it out. But other people don't listen. They listen with their ears, but they don't listen with their minds. And that's truly listening to people, is trying to figure out where someone's coming from. Like my friend I mentioned, he does. And it's sad because, like I gave a book to one of the people that I wanted to wake up from the mainstream media and all the bullshit and all the lies about the military industrial complex and all that. And he never read it, And the same guy, I send songs to and never listens to, or burn I burned CDs in the past and, hardly listened to any of them, or, just, people just don't want to fucking break out of their bubble at all. And that's really sad. But this is a sad moment in our history that we can't listen to each other or talk. So I just hope, there needs to be someone that comes out there and has actual conversations. I mean, Joe Rogan is the closest thing that we have right now. Unfortunately or fortunately, whichever, side you're on with him, because I know he can get a little cheesy and annoying and stuff to some people, but, he's the only person that actually listens to people and tries to talk to a variety of different people with a variety of different opinions. I had Osterholm on with regards to the virus, who's going to be on Biden's pandemic team, but he also had Alex Berenson on. He also had Alex Jones, too. But, but we don't listen to each other. I mean, I think people did more back in the day. I don't think the powers that be listened, but I think people in general, the masses did listen a little bit more. I mean, even the elites had conversations. They would, I found out the other day that G. Gordon Liddy and Timothy Leary actually toured the United States and had public debates. I mean, you can't imagine that now. Could you imagine, let's say, Milo, and like Sean King touring the country having public debates? Could you imagine that now? No, it's not going to happen. Because, both sides want to cancel each other out. They think they're nuts, or they're fucking, evil or whatever. And that's the sad thing. So I'm going to make myself, and this crisis has actually made me think about this, because I was a person that hated people for their political affiliation. I grew up in an environment where Republicans were evil, and it wasn't said that they should be killed, but they were evil people, greedy bastards, instead of people that just don't want, or just want less government. And I'm sure, there are a lot of Republicans that are evil. There's a lot of, what's that character from The Fountainhead, Toohey, there's a lot of Tooheys too on the left, which are, authoritarians and people that are just after power, So I've learned a lot from this crisis to not hate people as much, and I'm going to try to implement that in my life. Of course, when people do stupid shit like jump out of the way if I'm walking down the street, I can't help but laugh, but that's about all.